All right, hello and welcome. Today we are going to tackle the barbell back squat. I've got my client Michaela here to demonstrate for us some of the considerations that you're going to want to implement when you are squatting during your program. First thing is we want to make sure that this bar is set appropriately for her height. Generally, we want the bar about shoulder height, if not a little bit below, so that we're not tiptoeing in order to unrack it or having to crouch real low to unrack it. We can see that it's set up just right for Michaela, so we're going to go ahead and place our hands on the bar. Most of us are going to want to start with the hand placement that's just outside of our shoulders. That's going to be probably the most comfortable for the majority of us. However, if you do have some shoulder issues or mobility problems, you're going to want to bring those hands further out. General rule of thumb though is you want to place your hands in a position that allows you to safely secure the bar on your back, and I'll talk about that here in a second. So Michaela's got her hands right outside of her shoulders. She's going to go ahead and step under the bar, and when she does this, she's going to squeeze her shoulder blades and create a shelf of her traps. That's going to allow the bar to sit comfortably and securely on her back when she does the squat. She's going to adopt the high bar position, so that means that it's on top of her traps. If she goes lower with the bar, that's the low bar position. That's typically what's used in a lot of competition, but generally speaking, most of us are going to want to start with the high bar. So Michaela has the bar on her back. She's going to bring her hips under the bar, and she's going to simply stand straight up in order to pop the bar out of the rack. As she does this, she's going to be thinking about pulling the bar down into her traps and then forward, again, to secure the bar, because when we move and we have weight on this bar, the last thing we want is for it to roll on our back. In order to get away from the rig, she's going to do a 1-2 step, and when she steps, she's going to want to make sure that she steps into her squat stance. Squat stance is very individual based on everyone's human anatomy, hip anatomy, so we're going to find what works for you. A good way to start is have your feet slightly outside of your hips. When you do this, you're going to also want to make sure that your toes are pointed out at about a 15-degree angle. Some of us are going to want more of an angle, some of us are going to be more head-on. As time goes on and you get comfortable with training, you'll figure out what works for you. So Michaela right now is about shoulder width apart, 15 degrees angled out. She's got the bar on her back, pulled down, secured on her traps, and her head is going to be facing slightly up, and her gaze is going to be slightly forward. So that's going to create a nice neutral spine. As she starts her squat, she's going to want to think two things. She's going to want to break at her hips and break at her knees at the same time. So it's not a break of just the hips, nor is it just a break of the knees. So everything is happening simultaneously. So a good way to think about this is if you think that there is a box directly behind you and below you, you want to sit on that box. So it's not only back, but it's also down at the same time. So Michaela's going to go ahead and do a couple reps for us, and I'll walk you guys through some of the things that she's thinking about as she does this. So again, we've got that break in the hips, break in the knees. She's actively thinking to keep her chest forward. So she had headlights on her collarbones. Those headlights should face the wall in front of her the entire time. So we don't want the chest to tip forward. As she squats, you're going to notice that her hip crease goes below her knee. That's what's called squatting to full depth. Generally speaking, most of us are going to want to be at least parallel. If we can get full depth, even better. And as she comes out of the bottom of the squat, she's thinking the exact same thing. So she's going to squat and then also keep the chest up and return to normal by bringing the hips back underneath the shoulders. In order to rack the bar, she's simply going to step forward, make sure she hears that it goes onto the rig, and then slide it down. And that's how to barbell back squat.